Relax, rest in the presence and hold space.
Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Garadhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Garadhura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vajradandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Garadhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Garadhura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Om Vajradandaya Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Pataye Namo Namaha Suklam Bharadram Vishnu Sasi Varnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavignyopashantaye Shankam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namo
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. This webcast satsang is networking people around the world from many continents and countries, from different spiritual traditions and spiritual teachers. What we share in common is that we're all experiencing the path, the process of awakening, transformation, and the flowering of our hearts. It's a beautiful thing to come together and share in spiritual community, which is what satsang means, with others who are in the process of awakening. We strengthen each other exponentially. The interior peace and silence that each of us has cultivated or is experiencing by grace, when we bring it together and pool it together, the silence is incredibly deepened, the peace is incredibly deepened, and the energy, the vibrancy, the light of our collective presence increases manyfold. So glad you're with us here tonight. We're sharing throughout the webcast the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a direct transmission of divine awakened consciousness, light, love, presence. It's a gift from the divine source itself to catalyze awakening in the receivers. Suzanne and I have shared many different kinds of blessing over many decades. About 8 years ago, the divine told us to start sharing this one, the Flowering Heart Blessing, and said there were certain things about it that were important for us to understand. One, this blessing does not come through a spiritual hierarchy, organization, specific master, saint, or avatar. It comes directly from divine source. The divine said, it's my gift to give to whomever I please, therefore it's grace, and grace is freely given, so don't charge for it. Third, people are going to feel this energy, this presence, this blessing, and want to share it themselves with others. Let them know that when you've received this blessing, you're initiated instantly to be able to pass it on by intention and prayer meditation or through touch within the informed consent of the recipient. So please join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing throughout the remainder of this satsang webcast. All you need to do, well, you're already basking in it. So if you wish to be used as a vessel, an instrument of grace in this way, just invite the divine. Inwardly, just by intention. Use me, let it flow through me. And then just open up and experience the grace, the energy, the presence that begins to flow through you to all the other participants in the satsang with us tonight and those that will be tuning in the days ahead. We have sometimes many more times people who go through the satsang webcast after we do it live between now and next Monday when we'll do the next one. So keep them in your intentions. There is no distance in spirit in terms of time or space. It's all here and now. So if someone begins to play this video 10 years from now, they're going to feel the same presence, the same energy, the same blessing that you and I share here tonight. The world is in quite a situation right now. We're poised for dramatic change in so many ways, but it's very difficult. There's a lot of resistance, there's a lot of polarization, a lot of conflict, a lot of violence throughout the world. And it's very important that humanity shift from a collective civilization that's lasted for countless thousands of years, that's built on the foundation of competition, conflict, and violence. That needs to give way to a new civilization rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. That only comes through the flowering of the heart, awakening. People have tried for countless millennia through philosophical movements, religious movements, political movements, all kinds of spiritual practices and efforts, and still here we are. What needs to happen is awakening, which we've learned is a work of grace. a gift of grace that's often given to those who have been seeking it fervently and working fervently to that end, but the actual moment of awakening and the process that unfolds as the heart flowers in oneness with the divine, in oneness with the enlightened mind, that is a gift of grace. So, we're working very diligently, sharing blessing, sharing teachings to help people open up to this grace as quickly as possible. When enough of humanity has begun to awaken, we believe and understand that there will be a shift in the leaning of the collective consciousness, which has been leaning into conflict and violence, and begin to lean the other way into cooperation, harmony, and peace, rooted in love. And so thanks for being part of that here tonight. We like to open it after our time of meditative silence while the music was playing, and I was fervently trying to get the electronics to work, which we did, yay, okay, that was grace too. Well, we like to open it to questions and answers about awakening, about divine union, about the spiritual journey, about meditation, prayer, anything related to the spiritual journey or your practice, and some of the things you might be encountering, the subjects that you might be seeking more clarity and more light. Just throw it out there in the chat, and we will turn to the divine for inspiration and share it with you. And the divine loves it when people ask questions. Sometimes the last couple weeks, people haven't really been doing that. The weeks before that, there were just all these beautiful questions. So it varies from week to week. If you're here to just hang out and soak in the energy and in the presence, that's fine. But look in your heart and see if there's a question in there that if you asked it would bless the entire group. Because that's the way it works in Satsang. So, oh, and before I forget, give us a like or a love, thumbs up or a heart, because then we can see that you dropped in at the end of the satsang and send you special blessings and hugs. This coming Sunday is our monthly interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. time. The subject of the meditation this coming Sunday will be divine prosperity. I'm sure a subject, a topic that holds an interest for all of us, prosperity and abundance. So tune in, and I think you will be inspired and your faith will grow, which will open the door for the universe, for the divine presence to bless you with more and more prosperity in your life. Well, we have a question, and Yekaterina asks, can we be addicted to suffering? Yes. If so, how can we get rid of it? Well, seeing that you're addicted to it is a beginning, and then it's like any addiction. You need help, you need grace. You ask the divine to give you grace. But you have to want to stop suffering. Some people, they glory in their suffering. They've had bad religious teaching, and the more I suffer, the holier I'll become, or I'm suffering because I'm shedding my ego, and so the more I suffer and the more my ego is shattered, the more I'm progressing. I mean, that's all bad teaching. We do want to shed the ego, the separate self, but that is a very natural spiritual process. And the first thing we need to ask ourselves, I think, if we notice that we're addicted to suffering, is what am I getting out of it? Why am I addicted to suffering? Is it because somehow being the victim, I get people's sympathy and attention, or it gives me an excuse to fail or to be dysfunctional in life? I mean, suffering is one of the four noble truths, sad to say, of the Buddha's teaching. It's the first one. And it's been misinterpreted many times as life is suffering. But really, a better understanding, especially in our day and age, would be that suffering is a part of the whole of human life. That in the whole palette of experiences and feelings and passions and of a normal human life, that part of it is suffering. We lose loved ones, that causes suffering. We may experience physical suffering. Certain emotional charges and emotional suffering are there until the separate self is completely resolved in oneness with Source. So the first step might be to see that there's nothing wrong. If you find yourself suffering, welcome to the human race. And then begin to apply the spiritual teachings that we've been given. All psychological suffering is the result of resistance. Resistance to feeling something in the present moment. Every bit of energy we put into resisting feeling a bad feeling or one that we don't want to feel drains us and causes us to suffer. So, embrace the contents of the present moment. Once we embrace it without resistance, it may be unpleasant, but there isn't this kind of suffering and this pattern, repetitive pattern. We want to add something to that?
Well, too, also, the mind and the ego want to be right and be in control, and sometimes that can even be about our suffering and our pain. And the more that we can slip into our hearts and also discover what charge is surrounding the suffering, because there's got to be some core charge in there that keeps you drawn to more suffering. And also there's a lot of stories that play in our heads and drama that increases and intensifies suffering. So start to pay attention of your thoughts and your triggers and your charges, and you'll start to understand the pattern of where your suffering is coming from.
Interestingly, while you were talking, I just had this little insight that addiction to suffering, especially if we're talking about the kind of psychological suffering, emotional suffering, is something that the ego could subtly seek to preserve because it maintains the existence of the ego.
Right.
When the ego is gone, there's no one to suffer. There is suffering and there is joy, but there's no person suffering. There's just that experience, which is experienced and passes through us and then dissolves. So it's the ego that's addicted to suffering. So all the teachings aimed at letting go, at embracing the contents of the present moment without resistance, all of that will help bring an end to this addictive cycle of suffering, which is that's what the Buddha wanted for humanity. We know that's what Christ wanted, and he had his way of going about it, which was incredible. But Buddha wished for all humanity to be released from suffering, and all of it he saw rooted in aversion, resistance, or attachment to not wanting to let go. So, well, while I'm waiting to see if there are any more questions, I have some...
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Of 14 quotes to challenge your perception of the world.
Just one more thing on that. That's going to be a really good meditation for me this week, to notice if suffering comes up and why and where. I'm going to take it on as a little meditation. So that's what happens when people share it. It helps all of us grow. Okay.
14 quotes to challenge your perception of the world. We had a friend in India. I haven't communicated with him in a long time. His screen name is Jeet Prince. Some of you may know Jeet Prince, but he has a famous quote. It's him, and he would always write, "It's all how you perceive." It's all how you perceive. This is taken from inspiringquotes.com, an article. I like to give credit both to the website and each author. This is Christina Wright a coffee-fueled writer living happily ever after with their family in the suburbs of Richmond, Virginia. I like that because Suzanne and I are also living happily ever after. Perception influences how we move through the world and how we engage with others. Education, experience, family and community all help us develop our core beliefs. But perception is not the same as reality. Our perception can be skewed by everything from our physical abilities to our social identities. Knowing that, it is important to consider different perspectives even when they contain ideas that conflict with our own interpretation of the world. Science fiction author Philip K. Dick posited, quote, "Maybe each human being lives in a unique world, a private world, a world different from those inhabited and experienced by all other humans. If reality differs from person to person, can we speak of reality singular, or shouldn't we be talking about plural realities?" Unquote. In those moments, when we're confronted with a different perspective, one that conflicts with our own understanding of reality, we can be quick to dismiss it because it challenges our long-held beliefs. Or we can re-examine the conventional wisdom we have accepted as fundamental truth and make room for a new perspective. Here are 14 intriguing quotes from world leaders, leading scientists, gifted artists, and other experts that encourage us to challenge our perception of the world. I really like this because this is one of the major issues I see facing humanity. People don't know what's true anymore or what's real, but many of us have chosen a reality and heavily invested in that positional reality and just with strong emotional energy reject the other side. Right. I mean, this happened over politics and all over the world, but certainly in the United States. It happened over the COVID pandemic and medical stuff. And so you have not just, and with all that's going on in the world, there are a lot more than just two different perspectives. There are many facets to the diamond. But people are unwilling to consider points of view outside of their own these days more and more. And they're building like defensive structures, you know, and it's like the war of perceptions. And probably nobody's right.
Probably not.
Because the human mind does not grasp reality very well. But
and
here
also that's it goes back to the suffering question, because if people are some people can be suffering and then this person sitting next to them experiencing the exact same thing isn't suffering. So it's
all how you perceive.
It's all how you perceive.
Okay. Our first quote is from Douglas Adams, author. "Everything you see or hear or experience in any way at all is specific to you." Mm-hmm. Next quote. "Believe those who are seeking the truth. Doubt those who find it." Believe those who are seeking the truth, doubt those who find it or claim to have found it. Andre, I don't know how to pronounce his French name. I apologize. Guide? G-I-D-E in French. God knows. He's a French author, and I do apologize for messing up the pronunciation of your name. "You can't depend on your judgment when your imagination is out of focus." Mark Twain. "You can change in an instant. You can change your mind. You can change your timing. You can change your approach. You can change your words. Karen Mosen Miller, Zen teacher. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Khalil Gibran, writer and mystic par excellence. If you're alive, you're a creative person. Elizabeth Gilbert, writer. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Will Durant, historian and philosopher. Here's one you got to listen to closely. Turn off your logical brain that says 1 + 1 = 2. Open up your mind to the possibility that 1 + 1 can equal 48. A Mercedes-Benz, an apple pie, a blue horse. Natalie Goldberg, writer. I love that one. This is great. As soon as you stop wanting something, you get it. Andy Warhol, artist. You often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it. Goldie Hawn, actress. I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. Let's read that again. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. Eckhart Tolle. What people in the world think of you is really none of your business.
I like that one. I've heard that before.
Martha Graham, dance choreographer. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not making decisions. Catherine Cook, entrepreneur. If we're afraid to make a mistake, we're stuck. Afraid to make a decision and take action because we might fail. So that's how we learn, that's how we grow. So if you figure something out, you choose the appropriate line of action, you take it and it works, what did you learn from that? That you already knew. It's when we try something and it doesn't work, and we learn what doesn't work, and it motivates us to try something different, that's when we're growing. That's when we're learning. It's a shame that religion has painted in so many people's minds that God expects us and demands that we be perfect. In that sense, it's only by sinning that you can possibly grow. And I'm not saying go out and deliberately make mistakes or do things that are wrong. But it's when you fall down and skin your knee, you learn how to ride without the training wheels. And God knows that and does not judge it. What's really sad is when we stop and freeze because we're fearing judgment or fearing making a mistake. That's the mistake. And this all spoke, I think, a lot to suffering, what we were talking about before.
Reminds me of when I'm out walking with our grandbaby. She's pretty proficient at walking, but every time she grows, her balance is off. And so I realized I have to let her fall. You know, if it's going to be dangerous or really hurt her, or I see that she's not bracing herself for the fall, then I'll grab her shirt. But I have to let her learn about balance and physics and the world and action and reactions, cause and effect. And it's fascinating to be older and have gone through so many spiritual processes to be raising a grandbaby, because I see things from so many different perspectives that I didn't when I was a young mom.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gave you lots of time for a question. More questions. I guess we were addicted to the suffering question.
I guess so. Well, it tied right into the quotes,
Of
too.
course
so
it
that's
did.
perfect. Okay, well, we can start blessings.
Okay.
All right.
So let's close our eyes and open our hearts to the presence who dwells within you at the center of your being, at the center of your spiritual heart is the source of all existence. Some call it God, some call it the light, some call it the void. These are all concepts that fall short of our true essence, the divine. This presence in your heart loves you unconditionally. It is all powerful. It can get the job done if you need awakening. It can free you if you're suffering and seek release. It can heal you if you're sick or tormented. It can set your relationships right if they're troubled. It can make you whole and make you shine in the world from the inside out. The one you're looking for is you, your true divine self who dwells within you and right now yearns to draw you into its embrace and melt you in oneness and peace and love and joy. So, give yourself, yield yourself, let go, and drink in the flowering heart blessing that is pouring out to you, through you, and within you. The presence knows what you need before you ever ask. Just receive. Just set your attention on the presence and drink it in, soak it in, let it penetrate those places of pain and darkness that remain in you and dissolve them. The presence knows exactly how and what to do. Receive, allow. Drink it in. Visualize all of us sitting in a circle together with our eyes closed and our hands lifted up with our palms open, facing forward. Let us invite the presence to pour through each one of us the flowering heart blessing to all the others in the circle as it flows back to us through all the way. Picture the planet Earth, the beautiful blue planet in the center of our circle. And let us all take a strong intention together and ask the Divine Presence to awaken humanity, to dissolve the density and the darkness, the fear, the hatred, the anger, to awaken the heart of all humanity, that it may rise and shine and fill the earth with light. Peace, peace, peace. Now you can just relax your hands somewhere in your lap. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. During the light meditation, all you need to do is keep focusing on at least one of our eyes and just let it happen. Suzanne and I are flooded during the light meditation with the Divine Presence. And it begins to flood through every pore of our being to you, especially through our eyes, which mystics have called the doorways of the soul. Nothing to do. Just keep looking. The light will stream out of our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the light of divine love, the light of awakening, to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. close your eyes. Meditate with us for a few more moments as the grace settles within you. Keep meditating as long as you like, and or find a place nearby to lie in Shavasana. That's a yoga pose where you just lie down on your back with your eyes closed and your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just let yourself dissolve in gratitude and presence. We love you very much.
Let's love, light, and blessings.
Until we next meet, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you.